Hello everyone, this is Desert Wolf here. This is an upload of my Allied campaign. This is the first upload that I'm doing of this campaign, and it's actually September 29th, 1942. It's pretty late in the game, relatively speaking. And I will first show the turn, and then I'll talk a little bit about where we got in this campaign. I'm playing against Wearway, another veteran of the game who's been playing for more than a decade now. So he's a very good player. He's been giving me a very tough time, and as the Japanese opponent. So I've already seen this turn, and I know it's full of action. I won't spoil anything, but we'll get to watch. So up north here in the Aleutians, the um, the Allies are conducting an offensive, and let me just forward here. So yeah, the Japanese captured most of the the bulk of the Aleutians, I'd say, up until I believe Mac Island, and as the Allies have been counterattacking and taking back territory, and most of them are over. Most of the islands have been taken back. So far, this Amchitka Island is the main stronghold, and Attu Island is the secondary one. Everything else was retaken already. So here I'm just pressing the offensive, conducting a bombardment with heavy cruisers and light cruisers, and disabling some enemies. It's got like something like 300 AV here. And I've also gone on the counteroffensive in the Central Pacific, where some of the action is going to be heavy today. This is an interception of a supply convoy, the Japanese supply convoy. These are the PB fast transports. They cost 10 VPs each. They're very valuable and pretty big and fast. So it's definitely nice to knock them out. And there's also 3 APDs and a light cruiser. Get the first hit. So having watched this, I know it's a long battle, and also you can clearly see that I have the preponderance of force here. So I'll just zoom through. Yeah, very long battle. So this is a supply convoy. It's not. There's no troops on it, on board, and we definitely got the better of them. Java did get a torpedo hit and heavy damage. I don't know if it's going to survive. I actually haven't seen the file yet, the actual turn phase yet. I've just seen the replay. So we'll see how it does. And yes, this is heavy damage. APD sunk already, PB sunk. And spoiler alert, so there will be another battle. There we go. And this is the remnants of that Japanese task force, heavily battered. And this is my second wave, consisting of light cruisers and destroyers. I'm also going to zoom through this. I mean, it's obviously going to go in my favor, so. If it's a battle that is more in the balance, I will play it up through. But if it's something that's really unbalanced, there's less suspense involved. So, anyhow, all task force is finished. That's basically, I think that's about 100, more than 100, I'd say more than 100 VP sunk. So, because each one of these costs 10 points, that's 7 of them. These APDs are, I think, are about 425, and the CL is 20, 20. Yeah, I think it's about 20 or thereabouts, 22 maybe. So there you go. Success there. Talk a little bit more at the end of the turn about what's going on. So that's my carrier fleet that I moved up, the fast carriers. Tabetoa is under Allied control. That's my main staging base into the offensive into the Gilberts, the Southern Gilberts. Switching to China. And here is a little surprise for the enemy. I'm bombing Rabol. This is the first time I bombed Rabol. And he's been keeping a very close observation on my bases, air bases in Northern Australia. So I had to be very sneaky and jump in my planes and immediately go on the attack. So unfortunately, weather's not in my favor. It's thunderstorms. That means that accuracy is very subpar. But as you can still see, we're still causing some decent damage here. And it doesn't look like he had that many ships because a lot of the bomb hits were heavily concentrated on specific ships, like the light cruiser Kiso, which took 4 bombs and is in heavy fires. More bombers arriving. Again, thunderstorms, unfortunately. Another hit on the Kiso. Yet another one. This is a full press. That's clear weather, so this should do some really good damage here. Full offensive on Chitka Island, where the Japanese have a substantial force holding up in times 3 terrain, swamp terrain. So it's a slog, but it's definitely going to go my way. That's the 53rd A Division there, and a whole bunch of other units. And the damage, very substantial, as you can see. That's the difference that clear weather provides you with 32 disabled squads, 32 disabled non-combat. I think he has something like 380 AV there, so now that will be knocked out quite a bit. Medium bombers joining the fun. Again, substantial casualties. More substantial casualties. Some more on the ball. No hits. I think this might be the last wave. Really unfortunate that the weather is not in my favor here. It caused a lot more casualties and a lot more damage to those ships. So Kiso gets another deck armor penetration. I'm pretty amazed that Kiso is still not heavily damaged. I mean, it has heavy fires, and I think that's going to turn into heavy damage at some point. But with weak Japanese damage control. You never know. It could still go down just with the fires. We'll see. Nick's coming up to face off against my fortresses. So some damage there. Fortress respond. I think I'm flying. This was more of a distraction to protect my carriers. Just draw fighters toward the fortresses instead of the carriers. If you had any LR cap there. Just zoom through this one. That's the end of the air phase. That's the Allied ships that's engaged the Japanese task forces unloading on Makin, knocking down the airfields. That's a lot of supply hits. It's good stuff. Java did not participate, I think. It's pretty damage from that torpedo hit. And then that's the second. There we go. Make sure Makin is out of the, that's where they count. Again, a lot of supply hits. So I think it's probably going to be out of supply. And Makin. Yes, I am still holding on to Clark, as you can see. Pretty amazing given that September 29th. But not for long. Running out of supply, well, we're already almost out of supply, completely out of supply. So, and of course he's heavily bombing, heavily bombarding, attacking every now and then. Yep. Holding in Changti. And this is the force that's Japanese force holding on Chitka. It's heavily battered. You can see they're lost a lot of their AV. It has 3 infantry battalions, which are army, 5 naval guards / SNLFs, and the 53rd A Division and 8th Base Force. He had a lot more, but that was finished off in previous attacks. And this is what I'm kind of brought in here to take the islands. Now it was at 700. I think I started at 700 AV, and it's got whittled down to 563 in repeated attacks, and the Japanese was of course also heavily degraded. So this was I think 350 to 380 AV last turn, and just with that really good bombing with the clear weather knocked down to 300. I don't think it's gonna take that long, much longer to seize this island, and that will effectively spell the end of the Aleutians. The Japanese control the Aleutians because Hatu Island is much more weakly controlled relative to Amchitka. The blue circle death? No. Okay, I'm gonna pause here and then I'll circle back again once I get into the turn. Okay, so quick recap of the situation here. Basically, the Japanese started off, they took the SRA, they pushed into, they pushed down here to New Caledonia, and that's and that was largely in the Aleutians. That was largely the extent of their advance. So they did, of course, go beyond what the Japanese did historically, but not that much beyond. I started my counteroffensives about 3 months back, 3, 4 months back, and so far I've taken back the New Caledonia, New Hebrides. I'm building them up, and I pushed into the Gilbert Islands earlier than historically was the case, and used the bays of Tabitua and Aurore and built it up as a strong base from which to continue attacks into the Gilberts with the idea of on the Marshalls, with the idea of drawing the Japanese into a battle of attrition, much like what the Allies did in Guadalcanal, in the Lower Solomon Islands in the real war. The Aleutians, of course, have also been a center of attention for the Allied counteroffensive. Again, as I mentioned before, I pushed back here, took back all these islands, and now finishing off the last strong point. Attu is relatively weakly held, as you can see. What else? Let's see. Northern Australia has never been invaded. Australia wasn't invaded at all. He did take Port Moresby. There was a big battle here where the Japanese lost a battleship and 4 heavy cruisers, and I lost a few heavy cruisers as well. But that was definitely a battle, a victory for the Allies. And SRA, what's happening over here? Burma and China. China was the main Japanese effort. That was where the Japanese really pushed all their forces, all their cards were put on the China theater. I just lost Kungchang, and with the loss of Kungchang, obviously this area, Lanshao on north, is now cut off from Chongqing, but that's not really a problem, and the reason why is because I held it just long enough to establish a good supply route from Burma. So Japan is, despite Japan's very strong efforts in China, I have managed to hold on relatively as good as one might expect in this game. Changsha fell, Xi'an fell, but other than that, still holding the line this way, holding the pyramid. And what I decided to do was put a lot of focus on Burma because if I was going to hold on to China, I had to open a supply route. So managed the counteroffensive here, took Brahm, took central Burma, took all this back, and am now shuttling supplies from Akyab down to Brahm all the way here to Baoshan and into China, which is definitely helping. Definitely helping. Of course, supply is not exactly at optimal levels in China, but it's very good, relatively speaking, to what it would normally be. And the only other thing I didn't mention was I am still holding on to Cocos Islands, which is being tricky to resupply given the proximity to enemy forces, but is port level 6 and holding strong there. Just a question of keeping the supply flow. And that will be an ideal base to attack Japanese oil in southern Sumatra. The last thing I'll mention, besides the fact that I'm still holding on to Clark, which as you've seen, the last thing I mentioned is the oil. Oil is actually a huge focus of this campaign because that's what's from the start. In the first month, the first 15 days, 20 days, the Japanese came down here, and I used a lot of naval forces in a massive ambush, drove back the Japanese ships and bombarded Palembang, destroying 2/3 of Palembang's oil. So as you can see here, he's rebuilding a lot of that oil, but still a lot damaged. Still a lot damaged. And I also did the carrier strike on Yudan. That was heavily damaged, but he he still has 75 oil wells to repair, but he's repairing where he can. He hasn't finished repairing Miri as well. So oil has been a huge focus, and that's going to continue to be a driving part of this campaign. So I'll leave it there. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.